Hey guys, Sherm here, and today I'm going to be showing you the Honda Civic Type-R in multiplayer in Asphalt 9. Thank you to RPM Chung Gang for these races with this car at max. Now, I did not manage to get this car because the car hunt had really low drop rates with a huge number of races. I mean, even with 500 races, people weren't even really able to get it more than 2 stars, and I was busy at the time, so yeah. It wasn't really worth it for me to go for a car that isn't really any better than the Jannetta even. It's not D-Class King on any tracks, it's worse than the Shelby and the Hemi, and a lot worse than the current kings of Class D, which would be the Furai and the TVR Griffith. That being said, while it's not a particularly useful car in really any circumstance, it's not necessarily a bad car to drive or to use in multiplayer if you're in D or C class. It's just another one of those rather mediocre ones, like the Zero Uno, that may not be really bad to drive, but is just kind of in the middle of its class without any really thing that makes it stand out, and so it is quickly forgotten. But in this video, we're going to be showing this car off so it can get a little bit of the spotlight, at least for a short while. So in terms of speed, this car can go 185-ish miles per hour, which isn't bad nor terrible for D-Class. It's somewhere in the middle. Its acceleration is actually one of the better ones in D-Class, and that is likely its biggest selling point and probably its biggest strength. And he beats this other Legions United member after accelerating around that final corner. But you can probably also see that the drifting in particular about this car is not very good, and that is probably its weakest point. It loses quite a bit of speed when drifting, and it is quite wide as well. The standard handling, though, is okay, not remarkable. The Nitro is kind of the same way, sort of mediocre. Like, most things about this car are just kind of mediocre, which is unfortunate since it's a pretty cool car. This race is a close one against a pro team member. Actually, all of the races in this video are pretty close. There's some quite good ones. So just to give you some updates, I have gotten the Tech Rules 1896 at 4 stars, and I did get 3rd place in the event to get that really cool 3rd place decal I've been talking about all the time. I've been recording some races with that car in its current season against the Fenner Supersport, and we'll see that it does surprisingly well against that car. I mean, if you think about it, the Fenner Supersport goes, what, 270-ish miles per hour? You'd think, oh, it's going to easily smoke the 1896. Not from what I've found. They're actually not too far apart from each other in terms of multiplayer competitivity. Wait, how do you say that? They compete against each other well, and while the Fenner Supersport does go faster by 35 or so miles per hour, the 1896 starts up a lot quicker, at least at higher stars, and thus gives it a bit of an advantage in the beginning. But I think there's another reason to the 1896's proficiency in this multiplayer season, and it might be one that you hadn't thought of. You see, because the special event was pretty skill-based, I mean, more so than other special events, even though you could buy packs and stuff, you had to be able to go through the tracks reasonably fast to be able to get enough points to get the car. Unless you did the thing about, you know, going really low in the practice rounds, lowballing that, and then being able to get into a final round without getting a good time. I don't think most people did that. My point is, most of the people that got the Tech Rules and have been driving it in the season are pretty skilled players. Probably a higher percentage of them are than ones that have the Fenner, because with the Fenner, you could pick up a bunch over time throughout the multiplayer seasons. Let me know what you think about that. I just think there's gotta be a reason why the Fenners do not seem to be doing so well in the season as I thought they were going to. So far, I've played 9 races in the season in my 4-star 1896, and not a single Fenner has beaten me. Whereas when I've been driving the Fenner, I've actually gotten beat by a couple of other Fenners. Just kinda weird, and I thought I'd point that out. But the 1896 is a very fun car to drive, definitely very close to the top of Class A for both multiplayer and for events. And speaking of that, we are hard at work on the best and worst cars in each class list. We've gotten somewhat through the multiplayer list as well as getting pretty much done with the event one. So you can probably expect to see a video about that in the next 1 or 2 weeks, definitely before the next update. And you can probably expect my next video to be a multiplayer one about the 1896 that I've been using so much. So this race here is against a member of the elite team, Elite Kraken, and it was extremely close all the way throughout it. A lot of ones in this season were, because the people that dedicated enough time to the car hunt and tokens to max this car out for this season probably know how to drive pretty well. One other interesting bit of information is that a lot of the hackers that were doing insane times, impossible ones during the Tech Rules event have been banned, and so a lot of the people that were in the sections with them got their cars and they didn't have their spots taken by a bunch of hackers. And one big reason for that is we were now able to have direct footage of the hackers that anyone in the group could see because of the whole ghosting thing. So that ghosting thing is useful not only to see what other players are doing, but also for catching hackers, which is one thing it did really well in this case. Because Afik and his group, for example, had some 1-star tech rules that were speeding up really crazy, faster than his much more starred one. And a lot of them got banned because of that, being cleared from the TLE leaderboards as well, so hopefully now there will be a bit fewer hackers in the game, maybe not a whole lot less, but it should at least make a bit of a dent in it. Now, I speak only for Windows platforms here. Windows recently, at least in the past year or so, hasn't had a terrible amount of hackers. I mean, you don't usually see them in multiplayer anymore, and they often take some of the top spots in events, but usually not more than a dozen or so, if that. And here I'm talking about the ones that get impossible times, ones that are not possible with a normal skilled player driving the car. Now, there could be more that are just not doing as well, so I know it's not as clear that they're hacking, but I know that on other platforms, Android especially, they've had a lot more hackers. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened with those. I'm hoping that some of those got cleared up as well. Let me know down below if they did. And if you don't really want to deal with much of any hackers at all, apparently iOS is the best bet to go for there. I don't have an Apple device, so I do not have an iOS account, but I do have an Android phone, so people have asked me in the past, why don't I have an Android account? Well, the biggest reason is I simply don't have time to keep up with multiple accounts with school and YouTube and all, and there wouldn't really be much point to it. I would just have to spread out my time across multiple accounts, not do as well on either of them, and not get as many things as I am currently able to. So aside from it just not being feasible with my time, I don't really think it would be a good idea for me to do anyways. Because see, in this case, since I have one account, I can focus all my efforts and everything into this one account, and so I can do the best that I can. Now we've got another extremely close race against Elite Kraken. This guy was really good, and Chungang was able to face him multiple times in this season, and all of them were really close races. Now coming up here is something I never understood. They randomly added this ramp over here to the right, like several updates ago. It was gold at first, and I think I figured out why it was gold. It was to alert people that there was actually something new there, because they had that on other things as well. You know, on one of these Scotland tracks, how there is a part where you can fall into the river at the beginning and then get put a little bit further on the track? Well, they fixed that by putting a barrier there, and it was gold as well. So I really think that was just to show people, hey, there's something new here, and so people aren't just confused and think, wait, why is there a ramp? Or wait, why can I not go off here? I mean, I'm still kind of wondering why they did the ramp thing, but placing the barrier to stop people from going to the water definitely makes sense. I mean, it was something that they did not intend, so it makes sense that once they figured it out, that they fixed it. And I'm kind of wondering how long it will be until they fix the color glitch too, because there is currently a glitch that you can do that allows you to make any car whatever color you want. Now, I'm not exactly sure how bad in GameLoft's eyes of a glitch it is, so I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but there are videos out there about it if you really want to find out. However, since it is really just a glitch in the game and it's not really exploiting it because you gain nothing from it, I don't think GameLoft is going to ban people for it like some people have suggested. Now it's time for me to give my general review about this car. As I said previously in the video, it is set about in the middle of Class D, probably both for multiplayer and events. There's nothing especially remarkable about it, aside from it having pretty well above average acceleration for Class D. It has okay speed and nitro, but the real hampering thing about it is its bad drifting, meaning that it loses a lot of speed around corners, and on tracks like the Caribbean or on the Cairo 360-degree turn, it's really going to be losing a lot of speed in those points where cars like the Ginetta and Elise, with their lower top speeds overall, will still be able to catch up a good bit, and I believe that this car falls between the Ginetta and the Elise on quite a few tracks. It's pretty close to them both in events, but they are both life better than it in multiplayer. I do not have any information yet about the next update, but I will be sure to share it with you guys when I do get it and am allowed to share it, of course. I have, however, begun working on the lyrics and the music for my next Asphalt 9 song. Now, my last one I uploaded just a couple months ago, so it'll probably be another few months before that is released, before I get it just to where I like it, but you can definitely expect that. Here, Chunggang takes the victory again. Thanks to him for these races. Thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you have enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!